Welcome to Health Oddity, the show that strips away the jargon and hype surrounding all things health and fitness to help you live a long, strong and energetic life. Lining up at the bar this week, here's Peter Lant, Paul Bassett and James St. Pierre.
Hello and welcome to the Health Oddity podcast, episode 90. So we are closing in on our 100th episode. We have been doing this for 90 weeks, one episode coming out every single Friday for the last 90 weeks. So thank you to everyone for listening. Thank you to all our guests, past, present and future. I will introduce the guests for today in a minute. And I just want to say at the start, before we kick off, please do like, share, subscribe. If you're listening to the podcast on a platform that allows you to leave a review, you can also leave a review for us, which would be very nice. And if you want to join us in the Health Oddity Facebook group, just go on Facebook, search in groups Health Oddity and click to join and we will let you in. I'll just introduce the usual hosts before I introduce the guests for this week. Mr. Peter Lant in Bath, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Just been out for a wander with the boy, who's now asleep in his basket. So yeah.
For the guests, the boy is a spaniel. He's a dog.
Yes.
He's a dog. Yeah.
Yeah. I mentioned that last week. I haven't got any kids. It's like if I did, they'd sleep in a basket because you've got to become a well-rounded individual, haven't you? You've got to go through hard times in the past to make you the person you are now. So that's for anyone who's got kids or hasn't but is planning on having them. That's not parental advice.
Okay, good. And
that's
Mr.
why I haven't got any, by the way.
And Mr. Paul Bassett in Putney in London, how are you doing?
Not bad. Did you have kids and they were taken off you, Peter? Or
no comment.
No. Okay.
I'm lucky I'm allowed a dog, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got kids that they're alive, they're fine. Social services aren't involved.
Good. And today we are joined by two fantastic guests. They are sisters. I was expecting them to be on one screen, but they're on two separate screens. They are both in France at the moment. One of them, Leonie, is in Châtel in France, in the Alps, and Kayla is on her way from somewhere to Paris. I think she's on a train. She's frozen again at the moment, but she is wearing a face mask, as is still compulsory on French public transport. But whenever she talks, she will be lowering the face mask to give us some clear verbiage, if that's the word. But we've lost Kayla.
You talk yourself into a corner there.
She may be dipping in and out because she is on a train on her way to Paris. So we will speak to Kayla in a bit. So Leonie and Kayla are basically two absolutely fantastic women who I know, who both recently represented Team GB at the Winter Olympics in Beijing. I know their father, Trevor, as well. They're fantastic. Their brother is also a member of Team GB, and they all do something called Mogul skiing, which if you've watched the Olympics or you've ever been skiing before, or they'll explain what it is. I won't try and butcher it, what they do. But it's a fantastic sport. You may have seen them on the BBC. They featured on the BBC Olympic coverage. They've also been on Ski Sunday, and now the pinnacle of their broadcasting career, they are on Health Oddity with us. So what we'll do, we'll start off with Leonie because she is there and her Wi-Fi is stable because she's in one place. Leonie, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself, and Kayla can obviously jump in as well if her signal's okay, about your background in elite sport. It obviously didn't start off as a background in elite sport. It just started off as you going on a ski holiday, I think, at one stage. But kind of how you got into skiing and how you ended up, being at the height of athletic competition at the Olympics earlier this year. Kick us off, Leonie.
Yeah, so I started skiing on basically going on holiday with my brother and sister and my parents And then one year we came to Chatel for a skiing holiday for 2 weeks. And my parents absolutely loved it. So my mum, I turned around to my dad and said, let's do a year in the Alps. So we moved to Chatel for the year. We got to learn French, skiing all winter. Absolutely loved it. And then my mum just said to my dad, I can't see why we would move back to the UK. So we literally stayed in Chatel, still live there now. And then what happened was we had a ski instructor called Richard, and he said to my parents, your children are freestylers. And at the time we were just laughing because we weren't sure what that meant. But then I was on the chairlift with my sister and brother and parents, and I saw Mogul skiers come down a bumper field, and I was like, I want to do that. I want to be like them. That's so cool. So then they just booked us onto a ski club just across the road, and we started off there. Every Wednesday afternoon we had off to go to ski club, and then Saturday and Sunday, and then started racing. So we joined the ski club. I was 9. Kayla joined a year later, so pretty much the same age, and then kicked off a year later with like the kids like cups and racing, and then went on to Europa Cup, Junior Worlds, and then in 2017 we got a call from at the time Dan Hunt was the director, saying we would love to get a Mogul squad going for GB on the World Cup, and we just took it as a massive opportunity, and yeah, I've just been on the World Cup tour since, and then managed to qualify for the Olympics this year, which was amazing. So my background compared to my brother and sister is slightly different, as in I had a lot of injuries that I had to overcome. I did my first ACL and MCL in 2014, so I was only 14 years old. And then that broke again, not even a year later.
Just for the listeners, just quickly, Leonie. So ACL is anterior cruciate ligament, and MCL is medial cruciate. They're kind of ligaments that go across the knee to kind of give it stability. So what you do, Leonie and Kayla, is very there's a lot of shock and instability, isn't there, going through the knees, going down those slopes. You're literally twisting, well, if you're not stable enough, you're liable for injury like you've had, aren't you? Yeah. Okay.
And then I've had a lot of dislocated my shoulder many times, and had to have surgery on that. And then I broke my back, so I broke my L1 vertebrae in my back. I was lucky it was a stable fracture, so I didn't need surgery, but I had like a brace for 3 months. And then my recent injury was my collarbone. I like displaced it quite bad, so I had to have surgery on that. So yeah, on that side I've been a bit unfortunate, but you learn a lot from your injuries, so we can go on to that later.
Maybe we'll touch on that in a bit, Leonie. That's great, because I'll just give her a shout out, Alison Young, who was at the gym last weekend doing the tactical strength challenge with us. Very, very strong lady, but she specifically asked me, she said, have you ever had anyone on who's overcome or come back from injury and serious injury? And it just so happens that we had you on today, but it wasn't so that's fantastic. We can touch on that. Kayla, for you, if your internet is stable, you've got away with less injuries, have you?
Yeah, a lot less than Leonie. I mean, I broke I think the worst I had was breaking my collarbone twice. Once when I was 10, a snowboarder went into me. So it wasn't actually my fault. And then the second time was on water ramp. I was doing a front flip, and I don't know, I think I panicked in the air and the ski hit my collarbone.
Oh, okay. Right. So we can talk about, but you obviously, are you and Tom a year younger than Leonie, are you, or a year or two younger? So, is it 2 years
Leonie
younger?
and Tom are twins, and I'm 1 year
Oh,
younger.
you're 1 year younger than the two. Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
So when you came to get into skiing and go into the ski club and the lessons and things like that, like Leonie said, you kind of followed a year or so later. Were you already seeing what they were doing and already inspired by them, or was it just a natural thing that they were doing it, so you were going to do it as well?
It's funny when people ask me this because when my parents said, "Oh, you should try out because your siblings are really enjoying it," I just had a meltdown and was crying because I didn't want to go. I was so scared. But then I did the tryout and I had like so much fun, even though I was like such a shy person and really anxious at the time. But yeah, I mean, it was the right decision because I'm still doing it now. So
Yeah. So if you all started at about 9 years of age-ish, how old are you now? Just for the listeners, just to know. Leonie, how old are you?
I'm 24.
So Kayla, you're 22, are you at the moment?
22 and 23 on 4th of June.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay. So you've basically been kind of skiing and competing at a level for what was that, 12, 13, 14 years, something like that?
Yeah. It's been well, since the age of 10, I would say. So pretty much 14 years.
Yeah, fantastic. And just explain to me, one of you, just or to the listeners, what your actual event entails, because some people might be listening who go skiing or snowboarding, and they kind of, but a lot of people obviously don't do that, and some people will have seen you on the Olympics and some people won't. So what's the format for the event that you, what's the event called that you do, the formal name of it, and then what does it entail?
Kayla, do you want to go on this, or do you want me to do it?
I don't mind. I'll try to do as much as I can.
Okay.
So we compete in a discipline called Mogul skiing. It's basically a field of 250 meters long with 2 jumps and a bump line. So there's about 4 bumps before the first jump, and then you have to land into a like field of 40 odd bumps, and then there's a second jump, and then land into like the finish area, which is like 4 bumps. We're judged on speed, technique, and jumps. So it's 20% speed, 20% jumps, and 60% technique. The technique is judged on whether our knees split or not if we do pivot skiing or carving skiing. And our upper body basically has to stay as still as possible. You basically got to make it look really easy when in your mind you're like, oh God.
It does look like, when you see anyone who's excellent at something, like you see a brilliant like golfer or a brilliant footballer or a brilliant swimmer, or you girls going down the slope, it does look very easy and it looks kind of effortless, and that's, I suppose, the skill of it and what you're trying to make it look. But how hard is what you do? Because we obviously have got no idea when we watch it, because you make it look so not effortless. I know it's not effortless, but you make it look very kind of elegant and very kind of smooth, you know. You want to go, Leonie? Yeah, because I think Kayla, we might have lost Kayla for a second.
Yeah, I think that's sorry, I just got a message. Nice. So yeah, I mean, yeah, that's our goal is to look effortless, but the physical, I mean, the biggest thing in our sport is the physical impact, and there's a lot going through your joints in your body, maybe more than in other sports. There's a lot of impact on your heels. There's a lot of athlete that has problems with their heels because the impact's so big. and then obviously your knees. But the one that takes it the most is your back, because you're constantly compressing your spine. So it's really important to have a really strong core, more than I would say anything else in your body. Like obviously your legs are probably as important, but it's really important to have that strong core, just to keep everything stable and strong, because you don't really want to be going down a mogul field with imbalances or something that's not quite 100%, which obviously happened to me. So
so a lot of your injuries were they a consequence of a technique issue that went wrong at pace? Because obviously when you're going at pace, you don't want to make a mistake. So was it just kind of mainly impact problems, or was it just imbalances and just constant kind of wear and tear, and eventually something just snapped?
So my first knee was from landing too far back seat on a backflip, and I kind of couldn't stop. And so I remember my upper body twisting, but my legs stayed still. So obviously that just snapped the ligaments. But then it was really interesting when I did my back. I worked with a back specialist that's actually based in Essex, and he was saying that my I need to get this right. My quadrus lumboris, is that it? The lower muscle of my back on the right side was not firing. So I was basically going down a mogul field with, he was explaining it like if I had a truck, it was like having on one side no suspension. And so therefore it explains that's why my right side of my body has been taking all these injuries and hits, is because I had that muscle that wasn't firing and wasn't working properly. So every time I was landing more on my right side, and it was taking more impact than my left side. And then over time, obviously, I just, my right side can't support that because it hasn't got the muscle there to help. And then that's why I've been getting injured, or that's one of the reasons anyway.
Because I think when Kayla was explaining the kind of the course that you do, and she said, "Oh, you go over these 2 jumps." I think if people haven't seen it, you're not just going over a jump. You're kind of being scored on, and you're doing like back somersaults and flips and things and landing. So it's, I mean, that I've seen you. What we'll try and do actually is maybe before this goes out, or as it goes out, we'll put some videos out of you actually, of you actually doing these events. But I know you also, and I think Kayla mentioned that she broke the collarbone when the ski kind of hit it when you were doing, because you kind of do practice down a sort of a slope, and then you jump and you practice these sort of aerial stuff, and you land in water, don't you, sometimes? Is that right?
Yeah, so we train firstly on the trampoline, and then like for new tricks and stuff, and then we go onto a water ramp. So it's a ramp where you're at the top on a platform with your skis on, helmet, and then wetsuit, and then you go down this ramp on your skis and you jump in the air and you do your trick or your new trick, and then you land in the water. So it's just a bit less of an impact, although it is still quite an impact. It's nicer to land in the water when you try these new tricks, obviously, instead of snow.
Okay.
It sounds a bit like Dirty Dancing when they're practicing the lifts, doesn't it?
I suppose that, so I've got some drilling in the background, which is very convenient. But I suppose that what you might find is that most people never put their bodies under enough of a stress that some of these issues that you've experienced would emerge. I mean, so you mean not only are you training hard, you're training at an Olympic level, which means any imbalances must be very quickly kind of brought to the surface. So are you working with strength and conditioning coaches, and you're working with physios constantly to make sure that those things don't rear their head?
Yeah, so we have a strength and conditioning coach, obviously all year, and then we've got a physio on tour with us throughout training and competition camps. yeah, and then obviously we have our coach as well on the skiing side, so we've got that base all year round that you kind of have to have if you're going to compete at a high level all year round.
And do you also, Leonie, I know we mentioned, is Kayla actually there at the moment? I know she's muted, but I don't know if she's, oh, she's there. Cool.
Yeah.
She's there. She's having a nap on the train. There she is. No, she's okay. Okay. And Kayla, with the training in the just if I ask you, Kayla, for a second, the training in the water that you do when you're doing your flips and stuff like that, what age were you when you started? Well, what age were you? I know you. I presume that you don't, from 8 years old or 9 years old, go into doing these acrobatic flips and things, or do you actually start doing that from very young?
On again.
She may have frozen. Damn these French trains! Right, okay, Leonie, you can answer the question if that's okay. How old were you when you started doing all the flips and things?
Yeah, actually, you start from 9.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah, so you might not do the first year. I don't think I did a backflip on snow, but you already start doing backflips on the trampoline and on the water jump at very early, because then you want to progress in your sports. You want to get that movement and that confidence early. So yeah, I think maybe within 2 years I tried it on snow, and don't get me wrong, I was really scared, but our coach took us to an off-piste conditions and made a jump, so it was all powdery below, but I remember landing it and then falling to my back, but it was terrifying, but then I was like, I want to do that again.
How did you find that, Kayla, doing your first kind of backflip or your first big jump when you were kind of 8, 9 years old?
Yeah, there was tears, a lot of stress. I think I've never felt my legs shake that much in my entire life.
And did you land the first jump that you did, or did you land on your feet?
I was so scared of not rotating enough and landing on my head that I over rotated it and just landed on my back.
Okay. So you landed in some nice deep soft powder, did you? So it wasn't quite so bad. Yeah. Okay.
No, it wasn't that bad.
Okay, fantastic. And Leonie, with some of the injuries that you've had, I know obviously, but for both of you, kind of the mental sort of side of competition and the danger of the sport that you both do must be massive. And I know obviously the physical training that you have to put in requires an unbelievable amount of dedication, but how much does the actual kind of, I suppose, mental rehearsal and managing of anxiety and fears and nerves and all of that stuff, how much of a big part of your sport is that? And do you also get help and with Team GB, do you have kind of psychologists and sports psychologists and things like that work with you as well?
So well, I think personally that the mental side is important, even more important than the physical side. And well, first because you can be really strong, but if you're at the top of a mogul course and in your head you're doubting yourself, it's very tricky to get it right. And you kind of really do not want that when you're on the top of a course. So yeah, I work with a sports psychologist, so GB have that in their system. So I've been working with her and it's been really interesting but so helpful. I've learned a lot about myself and coming back to the injury side, without a sports psychologist I don't think I would be able to keep mogul skiing. It's just one of them sports where you can't doubt yourself and you have to be 100%. So yeah, coming into visualization a lot massively, and just knowing what works best for you. It's been really interesting to know that, you know, I can't be left on my own at the top of the course, because I'm a massive overthinker. So if I'm left on my own, I start doubting and seeing the dangers, and then that's not what I want at the top of the course. Like I want to.
Oh, you've muted somehow, Leonie. Oh, there you go. You're back. Yeah, cool. So yeah, you're just saying, yeah, if you're left at the top of the course, you're an overthinker, and you'll start kind of thinking and seeing the dangers, or overthinking the things. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just, yeah, I have to like chat to my coach, or like visualize my run before I go, and stay as calm as possible. But that's not saying that I don't have pressure, but it's managing to have good pressure and not the negative one. So yeah, it's been really good to work on that. And yeah, I think it's really important.
Do you do that as well, Kayla? Do you have a similar thing to Leonie? I don't know if you've frozen again, Kayla. Whenever I want to speak to Kayla, she freezes, and then when you're talking, Leonie, she's fine.
Now we've spoke about this in the past, because there's a YouTube video with a lady called Kelly McConigal on it, and she talks about the like how stress, like you've just said, you can have good stress and bad stress, and bad stress will be like the stress that makes you go in on yourself and overthink things and everything, and then good stress is basically the same thing, but you bring it out as excitement or looking forward to the thing. So is that kind of how you were dealing with stuff? You take a situation, so like an injury or something like that, which obviously would knock your confidence, and then you've got to try and think, well, you know, how do you visualize how to come back?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think well, with the sports psychologist I've been working with, it's not to put aside when a bad thought comes to your mind. It's not to kind of block it, and it's to accept it and go through it. And then I don't know, for me personally, when I've been injured, I've obviously had that downtime and feeling really lonely and down and useless. After them first 3 weeks of where you can't do much, to then getting back into the gym, you know, making yourself feel good again, I kind of have like that switch in my mind, where it's just like, oh, come on, you're a competitor, you absolutely love this sport. Like, there's no reason for you to quit now. Like, you've dedicated your whole life to it. You can still do this and still go for it. And yeah, I just think, like, when I look at my injuries, the amount of times I've come back stronger, mentally and physically, it's no, like, anyone listening, they can do it as well. Like, you just need to put your mind into a good place where you're like, okay, I can absolutely smash this. This injury was only to make me stronger.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's huge, isn't it? Even like you say, from breaking your back, you know, multiple collarbones, you know, the knee problems you've had, and then to keep going back to a sport that is as physically demanding and potentially dangerous, you know, that you're doing, is huge. Kayla, can I ask you, while you're there, do you listen when you go down, when you compete and when you're at the Olympics and stuff? Are you listening to music as you actually go down the mogul field?
Yeah, I listen. Like, it helps me calm like my anxiety and my nerves and my thoughts. That I just put earphones in and I sort of create my own bubble, like just listening to my music and like less about everything that's going on around me. So yeah.
Because at the start, when you're waiting at the top, you're kind of dancing, aren't you? You know, like when I saw you at the Olympics, you've kind of, they're introducing you on the TV and you're on the screen, and you're kind of, I thought you must be, you know, you're kind of like just dancing and you look like, you know, so I just wondered if you have the music on all the way down as well. And do you have like one song that you always have when you do your run, or do you have a selection of songs, or is there something that puts you in the right kind of state to be, you know, to be right on point, sort of thing?
I have got a playlist. It's mainly techno music, so very bass beats, I would say.
Yeah. And do you?
It's not Elton John, but like.
No,
That's what James was listening to the other day, trying to get into the mood for doing heavy pressing. And he's listening to a bit of your song.
Well, that was on in the background, and it didn't help. Yeah. So music. Yeah. So and do you kind of? I know. I suppose it's difficult because the bumps come when the bumps come, and the jumps come when the jumps come. But do you almost choreograph or coordinate with the music as you're going, or is it just going in your head? It's probably too difficult to do that, I suppose.
It's weird because I hear it at the start, and as soon as the person like announces 3, 2, 1, go, I don't hear it anymore. And then the whole way down my run, I can't hear music, and then when I get to the finish line, I can hear it again.
Oh wow! So it's going in your ears the whole time, but you're just kind of zoned out to the music when you're actually doing the run. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I suppose that's a big point, really, isn't it? Because most people go into a lot of things and don't really truly engage with them, and then they wonder why they're not getting the most out of them. You can't really do what you're doing at the pace you're doing it without having that one-track mind, that complete focus, that kind of blinding of other stimulus out, because so many people are doing they're multitasking, whether it's the social media and this and then that, and they're, you see people in the gym and they're reading a book while trying to squat or whatever it is, and it's like it's that doesn't lead to excellence. And I suppose when you're trying to compete at the level you are, you can't really be just concentrating on other things, can you? When you've got quite a serious task at hand, you've got to be completely there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you only had that experience at the Olympics. Like, we sort of sussed why she crashed as well in her qualies one, is that she was like the whole setup around it stressed her out. It's like quite a lot because like there's so many cameras in your face, and then you see the Olympic rings everywhere, and then you start thinking everyone's watching you at home. When as you're on the World Cup, you don't tend to think of those things. Like, I mean, there's still cameras in your face, but you don't think, oh, everyone's watching me right now, which is a really weird mindset to sort of accept.
I suppose the Olympics is such a big thing. It requires so much, it's like the big stage, isn't it? It's like the O2 of the of the sport world.
Yes.
You're playing in front of a huge of a global crowd, aren't you?
I suppose at the same time you're still just doing your event, aren't you? And that's got to be the kind of the skill, or the, I suppose, people who go to multiple kind of Olympics and stuff. You have to, I suppose, try, and like I suppose with your music, you're trying to kind of shut a lot of that external stuff out, so it is just you going down the run, and because you can't be thinking about the fact that it's going out live on the BBC and there's millions of people watching, and because if you do, then that's that's piling the pressure on even more, isn't it, over and above what you'd normally experience. Leonie, do you have music on when you go down as well, or are you in silence?
I tried to listen to music when I was skiing, and I hated it, so no, that doesn't really work for me.
Okay. It's interesting though, isn't it? Because some people, for Kayla, she likes having the music there, and for you, you're better with it without it. Yeah, that's cool. So, in terms of where you're at the moment, and you've had the Olympics, and then I know you've done some more competitions since the Olympics. Are you at the are you in the off season now? Have you finished kind of competing for this season now?
Yeah. So we normally have like April off. But me, Tom, and my sister, we did like our ski instructor courses in Austria, because it's a good opportunity to go and get that done. So we did that, and now we're just having some time off in May, and we're going on holiday as a family for first time in 7 years. So we're really looking forward to that.
Oh wow, where are you going to?
We're going to Tuscany in Italy.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
And then will you be, what I was going to ask earlier, actually, when you were talking about how the kind of the punishing nature of your event and your sport, is it something that, I mean, is there much sort of longevity in the sport? Do you expect are you going to try and go to like the next Olympics, or is it something that people can stay around for ages, or would you transition from the sort of the event that you do? Is there something that you can transition into that's less kind of physically impactful and things, or what's the kind of progression from here onwards for the next sort of 5 years, do you see?
So mogul skiing, like I would say the average is it's rare that someone goes over once they've got to 30 years old. It's rare to see someone continue. Like between that 27 to 30, most people end up retiring. Well, obviously simple, it's just such a big impact on your body. And then I mean if you go completely, they don't have anything to do with skiing, they would rather just go into something else. Some end up being mogul coaches. There's a few athletes that have gone into free ride. I guess that's just depending on if you want to continue a career in skiing and competing at high level, or if you've kind of done that and you want to move on. I think that's just an individual choice.
So
but
what's free ride, Leonie, to explain?
So it's people that, I'm not sure if I think they have to hike up. Sometimes they get a helicopter to like a mountain, top of the mountain, and then they have to so at the bottom of the course, they've looked with God, can't remember the name now. They just look at a line they want to choose, and then they go up to the top, and then one by one they have to come down this line. So it's all off piste, off rocks. They jump off rocks and do backflips or 360s, and then have to be as fluid, and then the speed I think counts as well. And then it's judged. I'm not really sure how it's judged, but they've got judges, and then it's just crazy sport. Like, I mean, avalanche risk is massive, and they're jumping.
That doesn't sound like much more of a safer option. It
sounds to me like it's judged on the fact whether you make it down alive or not. And if you do,
sounds like something from Running Man from Arnold Schwarzenegger. There's going to be ninjas attacking you and stuff.
Yeah, that doesn't sound. I thought it was going to be like a nice kind of a slightly more gentle kind of thing for when you get older.
Well, well, you haven't got the bumps, so I guess you haven't got that constant impact on your spine. You've got a bit more of that going down a line, which is, well, I wouldn't say it's easy, but you haven't got that constant impact. But then I guess you've got that jumping off a cliff impact. But there's a lot of free riders that, I mean, I don't actually know the average age, but I think you can do free riding a bit longer than you can mogul skiing.
Yeah. So what's your kind of do you still have goals and things that you want to achieve, Kayla, after reaching the height that you reached this year, at the past Olympics? I mean, is it something where you could think, well, actually, I'm going to go for the next Olympics in 4 years' time? Is that on your radar, or is that looking too far ahead? Do you just have to kind of take each year as it comes?
I think I'll try and take each year as it comes and see how. But I mean, being at the Olympics and coming eighth, it only gave me the this energy to want more and reach that top 6 level. I mean, it's only 2 spots down. And yeah, it always gives me like any kind of result, and definitely that result that I did in the Olympics that I wasn't particularly expecting. I was just really wanted to have fun and enjoy my skiing because I was struggling for a while to actually have fun while I was skiing. I was just so much in my mind, and then it's basically what I did, and like being there with Leonie just helped even more, having my sister there. So yeah, it did give me that strength to say like, let's go until 2026. But then kind of coming home, I was like, it's actually quite nice, relaxing. But I mean, yeah, I think I'll try and get there, but take it step by step.
Yeah. Do we know where 2026 is going to be? Who's hosting?
In Italy.
Oh, is it in Italy? Okay. Fantastic. Yeah. Because I think because was it, I know there's a series of finals, and I think did you finish 8th and the top 6 go through to what was called the super final? Was that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I remember watching that. That was fantastic. And how about you, Leonie? What's your kind of approach? Is yours a kind of see how things go and take it one step at a time, or have you got your kind of sights on trying to reach 2026 as well, or what? Where's your mind at the moment?
Well, I've got goals I want to achieve on my jumps and my skiing, that I would like to get going with for next year. And then I think I'm just going to take it yearly, because it's a bit like Kayla. Like 1 minute I'm like, come on, let's go for another 4 years, and then another minute I'm like, oh, but my body hurts a bit. It's took quite an impact there. So but yeah, I think the most important thing is to enjoy it, and as long as I'm enjoying it and having fun, then I don't see a reason to stop and like go into a different career. And that's hard sometimes to balance when you want to obviously perform really well and you're like, I need to stay focused, and then at the same time you want to have fun and enjoy it. So you kind of need to find that balance of, I'm really enjoying this and I'm performing, so let's go.
I mean, we can't really, probably most people can't understand that from a young age, from like you say, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, you're competing, in a sport. And then certainly in your teens and your late teens and your 20s, you're really rigidly kind of training and competing. And you must have a very different kind of childhood and young adulthood than most people. So, but I suppose it's all you've known. So it's hard for normal people, for non-elite athletes to comprehend, I suppose.
I think it's I mean, you have to have a lot of determination and commitment to, if you want to be a high level athlete. It takes a lot. But at the same time, I wouldn't change it for anything in the world. Like, I'm really grateful to have, like, I'm bilingual. I live in like the French Alps. It's one of the most beautiful places I've been to, and I've traveled all around the world competing. So just feel really lucky for that, and for the opportunities my parents gave me. I mean, not a lot of people have them opportunities. So I just think, like, for me and my brother and sister, we just want to make the most of it and kind of say, like, thank you to our parents for like helping us on this journey, and because without them, like, we wouldn't be where we are today. So
yeah, I mean, I've met both your mum and dad, and they're incredible people, aren't they? Really, like you say, to just to volunteer. Well, let's try and give you this opportunity and go out there. And I met your dad out in Chatel actually one year when I was out there, and he took me out for the day and had lunch with me and stuff. And it was, and we might try and come out again next year with the gym group. So if you happen to be out there when we're out there, you might be away competing and stuff. But no, it'd be fantastic to meet you, because Chatel is the whole area there is fantastic, isn't it?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, thanks so much for coming on, Leonie and Kayla. I don't know if I know, Kayla, it's been a bit difficult technically because you've been on this
sorry
train.
about that.
No, it's great. It's great. Thank you so much. What are you going to Paris for? Is this just for a leisure trip, or is this something, ski related or?
Not ski related at all. My boyfriend's from Paris. I kind of like getting out of the mountains from time to time.
Okay, just a nice time in Paris. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, Pete, do you have anything you'd like to kind of say as we sort of start to wrap up?
Yeah, I just like what Leonie was saying about the mental side more than the physical side. Not necessarily more, but it's just as important. I think that's a really good takeaway from this for anybody, because you were asked the question about, like James, about overcoming injury, which there's a physical aspect to injury, but obviously there's a massive mental aspect as well to do with pain and all of that afterwards, and whether you're capable afterwards or not. And what Leonie said about it making us stronger, and it was there for a reason rather than thinking it's there to stop you, I think is just fantastic. And then just about like getting the mental side of it to take the pressure off as well, because a lot of people, I'm trying to relate this back to like normal life, and a lot of people put pressure on themselves, don't they? Pressure that these guys deal with in different ways as well, from the same family, but you deal with it in very different ways. Leonie can't be on her own at the top of the slope. She has to have someone with her and all that, whereas Makayla's kind of there just with her headphones in, like, leave me alone, I'll sort it out. So that's really I just think that's really interesting, because in everyday life people put themselves under so much pressure, and it's about it's not about like not being under that pressure and not looking for it. It's it's being able to deal with it, isn't it? And also, 100%. Relating it back to kettlebells, a lot of people say kettlebells hurt your back. I've said this before, right? Because people say kettlebells hurt your back. And I go, yeah, but skiing breaks your legs. And it turns out it doesn't. It breaks your collarbone. Who knew?
Excellent. Paul, do you have anything to say as we kind of start to wrap up?
I do, but conveniently, my next door neighbour started drilling the concrete up in the house, in the base. I don't know if you can hear it still.
No, we can't really hear it. So if you want to say,
that's good. Zoom must have its little filter then, which is pretty good. So I actually put together.
It just sounds like you've got a bit of a dodgy tummy, to be honest.
Well, I do eat a lot of fibre. No, I put together a nice little handbook for my clients on how to fail. And some of these things I think would be quite relevant because they highlight kind of probably why our two guests, Leonie and Kayla, have succeeded. The first one is to start tomorrow. If you want to fail, you can start tomorrow. You've got to take action and do things. Another one is to basically fail once and quit forever. You guys obviously you've broken bones, you've probably lost races, and you didn't quit, you just kept showing up time after time. Avoid discomfort is another one. So if you want to fail, you can avoid discomfort. And as you guys have shown, it's not always fun, but you've kind of got something bigger in your mind that you want to aim for, and avoiding that discomfort would just put you in situations where you didn't succeed. And I think I don't want to go through all of them. The other one is do your best, not what it takes, because sometimes what you think your best isn't what it takes, and you guys must confront that constantly. Like what it takes to win, what it takes to get to the level that you guys are at is not always your best. It's kind of beyond that, isn't it? It's you have to dig deep. And when you guys talk about this focus you have to bring in the psychology, it's because you are having to dig deep. It is because you are taking it beyond what most people are comfortable doing. And I think that's what it's probably difficult for a lot of people to understand, myself included, what it is to actually perform at a very high level is that you are operating much differently. And you are having to dig deep in a way that most people just don't have to encounter. It's very uncomfortable in it, but the payoff can be so huge, can't it? The payoff can be so fulfilling. And I suppose you've got to keep that in mind at any point when you're doing these things. That's my thoughts anyway.
Good. Yeah, no.
We can actually hear that drilling now quite loudly.
Yeah.
So
Mute yourself now. It's just coming through.
Okay. Thank you so much, Leonie and Kayla. And I know we rescheduled from a few weeks ago, but it's really, really good to actually get to speak to you. And thanks, Kayla, for logging on from the train en route to Paris, and thanks, Leonie, for joining us from Châtel in France. Hopefully, next time you're back over in England, in Chelmsford this way, come in and see us and train with us at the gym and stuff. And next year when we come out skiing, I'll try and really hook up and meet you guys again. But yes, thanks so much. It's been really interesting, been really fascinating, and been lovely to speak to you. And hopefully we'll be able to, like I say, we'll share some of the videos from the Olympics and from training and from other things that I can find, and maybe you can send me some bits that we'll share with people so they can actually, because talking about the event and then actually watching it, it's going to give them much more of an idea of what you do. So thank you so much. So thanks again for all of our listeners, guys. Please do share, like, subscribe, leave a review, join the Facebook group, and I'll see you soon. Leonie, take care.
Thank you for having me.
Brilliant. And hope you have a lovely time in Paris, Kayla.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Okay. And until next week, see you later. Goodbye.
You've been listening to Health Odyssey with Peter Lant, Paul Bassett, and James St. Pierre. To get your regular fix of hype-free health, you can subscribe and leave a review wherever you get your favorite podcasts. You can find out more on today's and other topics at healthodyssey.com, or find us on Facebook or Instagram by searching for Health Odyssey.